Yalovsky. Thank you all for coming here. I'm a program manager on the OneNote team in Office, and today we're going to talk about OneNote. I'm going to run through kind of a little bit of an introduction, but not too much. I'm not a big slide person. And for the most part, for pretty much all the time, I'll be giving a demo on OneNote on the 2003 version that we shipped about 6 months ago, and on the SP1 version. I did this a few minutes ago, but there weren't many people in the room then. Out of a show of hands, how many people here have installed OneNote? Wow, that's quite a bit. OK. And how many people here would consider themselves OneNote users, maybe on a daily basis? OK. And how many people have never heard of it and just heard of it for the first time in TechEd? Wow. OK. So the introduction, we are all here because we all take notes, probably. Traditionally, in the past, notes have been something that's been overlooked in the software industry. There hasn't been much of a value placed on notes. We all have kind of a different definition for what we consider our notes. Some people take notes in meetings. Others take notes to do research. There are brainstorming notes. So there are all different ways in which you can take notes. But there's one thing that I think we would all agree with, which is that all of the information that you collect it's really essential to be able to not lose that information, to be able to access that information later on and share it with others. When we were starting our thoughts on OneNote about 4 years ago now, it really came out of looking at the segment and seeing that the software that really existed out there didn't help much with this problem. If you look at the Office suite, it was really a group of applications that were tailored for finishing products, such as documents or presentations. But there really wasn't any good application out there that could help users or help customers gather their information in one place. And sometimes that information is important. Other times you could throw it away, but you don't always know that right at the beginning. And reuse it and share it with others. We conducted a survey, and we saw that about 91% of US adults take notes on a daily basis, which is astonishing. Certainly for information workers, people who work in corporations and your own business, you take notes related to your own business needs. OneNote is that's what it was designed for. It was also designed for taking personal notes, such as your personal lists of things that you want to do, or I'm planning a wedding soon, so I keep my wedding notes in OneNote as well as my work notes. Where's the button? Here it is. Okay. So today there are a lot of challenges with note-taking. Key challenges being we all have different styles in which we take notes. We take notes in different ways, and we often lose the notes that we take. If you take notes on a piece of paper or in a notebook, no matter how organized you are, which most of us aren't very organized, myself included, you tend to lose the information. You tend not to go back to the information. If you are, let's say, in the legal profession, or if you tend to record sessions, you don't always go back and listen to the full recordings. There's a lot of cost involved in transcribing recordings, transcribing handwritten notes, and sharing them with others. And every time we lose information, we're losing time. It's costing your companies, it's costing you. So OneNote 2003 was designed, as I said, we started thinking about it about 4 years ago. We shipped it 6 months ago. We have an SP OneNote now, which I'll talk about later. And it was designed really to tackle the scenarios of capturing information, whether it be research notes, meeting notes, your class notes, whether it be your own brainstorming notes or personal to-do notes. Being able to find that information and reuse it effectively and find it quickly, and being able to share it with others. Those were kind of the pillars. Those were the pillar scenarios that we tackled in OneNote. And I'll be giving a demo now. That's kind of a screenshot slide, but not really needed. So in the demo, I'm going to be going over, which is right after the slide, I'll be going over OneNote from scratch. But In addition, right now, this is I think this is one of the first public presentations where we're going to be showing the features of the SP1 release, which is coming out this summer. It's available in beta right now. And the SP1 release, it's not your typical SP1 release. It's not strictly bug fixes based on Watson data. For those of you who don't know what Watson is, it's a system in which we could collect information and find out what the major crashes are and problems are with the application, which we fixed the top 25 crashes, which is, I'm very proud to say. We added a whole bunch of new features in it based on user feedback. This is one anecdote, and I'm going to touch on this a little later, but if anyone blogs out there, out here in the audience, the development team, we hook into like Feedster, and we look at all the blogs that mention OneNote. So if you want to give us feedback and don't want to go into new user groups because that's not your style, just blog about OneNote, and I guarantee you we'll get the email on it. Right now we're in our infancy still that we could monitor all of the stuff, and we'll get back to you on your requests. And it's great to see how people are using it. And now time for the demo. While I'm giving the demo is pretty long, and it's pretty in-depth. If anyone has any questions, if you find I'm going too quickly, please interrupt me, and I'll answer the questions as I come. We'll have a Q&A period at the end if we have, hopefully, I'm planning on it. But if you have any questions. So this is OneNote. This is actually my notebook in OneNote. I don't really like using canned demo notebooks. You can see we based the UI on a notebook metaphor. We designed the UI so that it would lend itself well to all different styles of note-taking, whether you're an extremely organized person who wants to have a lot of structure, or whether you're kind of ad hoc and doesn't really care where you place your things initially and want to find them later quickly. So the tabs at the top here, everything's stored in your notebook, and the tabs at the top here are different sections in your notebook. So you can see I could click on daily. Well, this one's password protected. I have a scenario section. I have meetings. I have a general section. I have one-on-one notes that I have meetings with my manager weekly. And you could really get to your sections pretty quickly. And you'll see here that there's a folder. There's a folder tab. The folder tab at the top is essentially a folder on your hard drive. And you could think of it as everything's contained inside your notebook. And under the notebook, you have folders or sections. And under sections, you only have pages. So the hierarchy is essentially folders, sections, pages. And folders can contain other folders. So if I drop this down here, you could see a tree structure. I thought of maybe demoing from a demo notebook, so I created this tree structure, but I'm not going to. But you could see here's an in-depth structure on, here's for an example of a notebook where you may have a folder for projects, and under project you could have project A, B, and C down there, which you could go to quickly. And you may have a folder for classes. What my notebook looks like for real is I have a work folder, and I have a personal folder, and in my work folder I have another folder for things for the next version of OneNote, different features that I'm working on, and then I have personal notes, and I get to organize it. I organize my notes like this. If you were asked 10 people, I'm sure everyone would have a different style out there. This is just one style that I found I work well with. The OneNote page is different than other Office applications that are out there. It's truly a 2D surface. So we did it when we did our study 4 years ago. We collected notes from thousands, actually I should say thousands of pages of notes. I don't know if they were from thousands of people, but thousands of pages of notes, of different types of notes, and we pasted them all over the OneNote development hallway. And every time we'd go out and see how users would take notes, we saw that everyone took notes quite differently. Some people scribbled in different locations on the page. And if you know this, the app used to be, the codename used to be Scribbler because of that. And some people would take very linear notes on the left-hand side of the page. So we really wanted to make a surface that lent itself well, not to just one style. So if you're an outliner, you take pretty rigid notes, and that's great. It works great for you. So you could go ahead and type and take your outline notes. And we support things like expand, collapse, parent-child relationship for your outline notes. But also if you're doing brainstorming and you want to take notes in all different locations on the page, you could click and type essentially anywhere on the page, and it lends itself well to that model. I find in my own personal use, sometimes I take very rigid notes kind of on hugging the left-hand margin, and sometimes I'm in a meeting and someone says something and I just need to write it down quickly, so I'll click and type somewhere and take the notes. Now, here I'll put numbering instead of bullets, actually. We support a whole bunch of formatting, formatting that you typically find in a word processor, so you could bold, italic, put color, create outline structure, and bullets and numbering is one of the key things. And you could drag, what the 2D page lends itself well to is dragging content all over the page. And this is really great for a whole bunch of different scenarios. You could be brainstorming an idea or planning out your thoughts in several different columns or objects on the page, and you could kind of drag your ideas from one side to the other. Or it's great for prioritizing. I use this to prioritize my lists all the time, my daily lists and feature lists and so forth. Any questions so far? Okay. The question is, when are we going to make that work with handwriting? It works. Our theories behind handwriting, and this was kind of our ideology behind handwriting. And I should mention that I'm demoing pretty much with typing today, but OneNote is fully capable on the tablet PC, and you'll see handwritten notes sprinkled throughout my notebook. I use it based on the scenario that I'm in, based on the type of meeting or my mood. But there's a myth that I want to dispel out there, which is that OneNote's a tablet PC application only. It is not. It was designed to work on laptops and desktops, and I would say 95% of the functionality works on handwriting. So works off tablet. So for handwriting, we try to make every feature work for handwriting. So if there are some problems with dragging and dropping, I download the SP1 beta because we did some improvements for classification. We could talk afterwards maybe. I'll be getting to that. Okay. So this is the OneNote page. You could pretty much put anything on the page. You could insert pictures. You could drag and drop text. It's very free form, and as I said, again, it lends itself well to. Here, I'll put a hockey picture of me playing hockey on the page. And you could format it any way you want. So if you look at the right-hand side, we have page tabs. So as I said, you could have as many sections at the top as you want. On the right-hand side, you could have page tabs. And here I'm going to just riffle through. If you click down and you riffle through, you'll see all different kinds of notes. I have a whole bunch of handwriting notes. So it's a great way of browsing through your pages. The way you create a new page is you would click on this new page button at the bottom, and you get a new page placed in the notebook on the page tab. And you could drag and reorder the pages as well. That's essentially the OneNote UI for you in a nutshell. We designed it hopefully to be extremely simple and to be so that there's not too much overload when you're going ahead and using it. So what are some of the note-taking? I'm going to show you now some of the specific note-taking features that we have. So one of them, which lends itself well to many different scenarios. I hope you don't mind that I'm using kind of rubbish text over here for these examples. I'm just trying to do it quickly in real time. You could assign, over here we have this feature called note flags. And here I just assigned a whole bunch of to-do items to my notes. If I drop it down, you'll see I customize note flags to mean a whole bunch of different things. Note flags are essentially metadata that you would place on a note, such as a to-do item. You could customize it to be, I have one called Follow Up with Owen, who's my boss. So every week I roll up my note flags. Throughout the week I'll write things on Follow Up with Owen, and these are things that I'll follow up with him in the weekly meeting. And then at the end of the week, I'll click on a button and I'll have the list of things that I said I have to talk to Owen about throughout the week so I don't lose this information. Whole bunch of different scenarios. We've seen students use this. They've made on exam ones. So there's every time the professor says, this is on the exam, wink, wink, write it on the exam. End of the semester, you click a button, you get a crib sheet made for you right away. So if you see, I clicked on this button up here, and I had a note flag summary pane. And you can see a whole bunch of different note flags. I have a whole bunch of them marked important on the right-hand side. And what this allows me to do is it gives me a snapshot of all the things that I've marked, note flags that I've marked in my notebook. And here I have it only set to the current folder or subfolders. You can change the scope, obviously, of the note flags. And this allows you to quickly jump between things, jump between note flags, and take you to the right page. What you could also do is create a summary page. And here you'll see I went back Since you kind of create your own internet space, I call it, where you could create notes anywhere in your notebook and it could be organized any way you want. If you are jumping between things, we have back and forward buttons. So you wanted to go find an important topic, you went to the page, you forgot where you were, you just press the back button, you get back to where you were in your notes. It's really quick and simple. So no flags is one great way to do it, and you could customize. And tomorrow I'll be giving a Cabana session, so if anyone needs help with seeing how to customize it or wants to know how, I'll go into in more depth. But another way to find your notes is to use the search feature. So a typical example will be, I remember I was in a meeting with Maria last week, and I was in a meeting with Maria, and I want to find out what we discussed in the meeting. So I click on the button. I actually have the scope now set to everything. And bam, it finds Maria in the usability sync up meeting, and I get a list too of all places where Maria is listed in my notebook. And just as the search, same as for the note flags, I could then go ahead and click between the pages to find, or I could cycle through and find the notes from Maria. Now you'll see here that we recognize handwriting. So one of the first questions that people ask with handwriting recognition, if they find out that you're an application that can be used on the tablet PC, is can you do handwriting recognition? And what we found is we support full handwriting recognition where you could select notes and convert them to text. But what we found is, for the most part, for your own personal notes, unless you're sharing them out, you don't really care to convert handwriting to text. You just want to keep it as your own handwriting, keep it simple and dirty. But you really want to be able to search over handwriting. So we changed, this is a little insight into how we did it. What we do for handwriting in terms of our algorithm is we search over all the alternates for all the possible words. So if you were to convert, I don't know, let me try this. I don't even know if this will convert to Maria. If I do it right away, it might not. Okay, it does in this case, but sometimes my handwriting's pretty messy and it won't convert to Maria. But when we search over handwriting, we search over all the alternates. So that means we have a higher hit rate. And as it turns out, we don't really get much dirt there in terms of false positives. So searching over handwriting works pretty great. Okay, so you can search your notes. So you create this whole work environment and search. Another thing that you could do also is email notes. So I may get a little dialogue here. No, I didn't. Okay. So at the end of this meeting, what I would want to do typically is, okay, maybe this is my handwriting. I'd want to change it if I found my handwriting was pretty messy, or I could send out my notes in email. And what that does is I drop down the email envelope. I'll send Maria the email with a OneNote file, which then she could open up and bring into OneNote and file the page away appropriately, so she has the notes readily available. But if she didn't have OneNote on the other end, we send the notes out in HTML. So anyone could read it with pretty much all modern email editors with HTML, and anyone could read those notes. So we found that. So let me see if I remember. I think for handwriting, we send it as an image. For copy-paste, we convert it to text. I think for email, we send it as an image. And the reason behind that is if you're copying and pasting it to another location, you have the chance to clean it up. Versus an email, you don't really have the chance. If there are some wrong recognition results, it could maybe appear a little embarrassing if you just send the email off without looking at the recognition results. The reason I'm getting this dialogue is because I'm running a private build of our SP1, so it's a little bit out of sync with the Outlook I have. That dialogue does not appear on chip versions, just so you know. So meeting notes. Meeting notes is another great way to kind of send things off. Another scenario that I mentioned before, let me check time. Another scenario that I mentioned before was research, which we really want to tackle. So we have this feature called side notes, which is kind of the make OneNote available from anywhere I am on my computer. So if you press Windows key N, you get a little side note that appears, or you could click on the little icon. I don't know if you saw what I just did. The icon in the sys tray on the bottom right-hand side, and a new side note appears. Here it's appearing with, I set my default to appear with rule lines on it, because I was handwriting beforehand. So it appears, and what you can do is, let me go to a web page. What do I have open here? on MSDN before. So here I could be on MSDN, and I could click Sign Notes and take some information as I'm on another web page. You could also do this if you're, let's say, if you're in a Word document, if you want to pop up a little sign note and pin it to the side. It's pinned by default, so you could take notes while you're working in another context. So you could have those things both going at the same time without having to worry about managing windows. Another thing that Sign Note's really great for, and what we designed it for, was to be able to click it quickly and write a phone number and forget about it. And this is something that maybe I should have mentioned before, and I didn't. If I go ahead and close that, I closed OneNote completely. If I relaunch OneNote, I'm taken to the last location I was in my notebook. But if I go to the Sign Note section, you'll notice I created a sign note. It's automatically, OK. Well, oh yeah, there it is. That's what I wrote. OK. I'm not on drugs. It's automatically placed in the Sign Note section. And I didn't have to save it. So OneNote doesn't have a save button. Everything's automatically saved to your notebook. So if you go away from it, close it down, go back to it later on, it saves. And if you get a little bit more stuff that's in there because you didn't mean to save it or it was a draft, big deal. It's your own notebook. It's better to not lose information and be on the safe side. It was actually a little anecdote. It was a little bit of a controversial decision at first. It's something that we knew we wanted to do, but could we really get rid of the save button was something that we debated a lot in OneNote v1, back and forth. And it turns out that people don't care. like people care for maybe the first day of using the save button for the most part, and then you just forget about it. And what's happened to me, at least, is I'd be working, let's say, in an Excel spreadsheet, and I'd click close, and I'm like, dialog, screw it, no. I lost my stuff because I'm get used to autosave. So a little warning. So you could, side note, I'm going to show you another little, this is kind of a little tip that I do all the time for research. So if I minimize the OneNote screen, so let's say, let me go to the demo notebook just because I have a project thing. So let's say I'm doing research on project A, whatever that's called for you. I can minimize the OneNote screen and make it a little smaller such that it appears to be a side note now, in the sense that it's pinned on the side. And now I can have it visible. So the side note functionality of the smaller screen, where we only give you some reduced UI because you don't have that much space, so we didn't want to give you a whole bunch of toolbars at the top that will be useless and clutter. That's now, everything I put in there doesn't go to side notes. It goes to my project folder, so it's automatically filed. And what you'll see is I can copy, paste, or drag and drop from the web inside, and the content comes over, placed in project A, and a URL is placed on the bottom as a link back to the original. So this really facilitates the research scenario of copying and pasting and dragging and dropping research notes. So along those lines of research, this is going to be the first SP1 feature that I'm showing. All that is available that I showed so far is available in the RTM in the 2003 version. Now in the SP1, which is in beta, and you could download it for free, a trial at least, we added a feature which was create screen clipping. So let me go back and I'll redo that scenario with create screen clipping instead of copy paste. So what you can do is you could click on, if you right click on the bottom on the side note thing, little icon, you can say create screen clipping, and it doesn't matter what's on the screen. If it's copy paste is kind of it depends, the success depends on the type of content that's on the screen, whether it's text or images or ink or whatever it is, and how it's laid out in the application that you're in. But this allows you to really just take a screenshot of it very simply, and it's automatically placed in OneNote, the screenshot, and then you could manipulate the screenshot very quickly. I have a friend who is a technical writer, and he's writing a book now, and he literally just uses the screen clipping thing all day, every day, to take screenshots of the application that he's writing on, puts them in OneNote. If they're big, maybe he'll reduce it to the side, and then take his notes up here. My mouse gets a little hokey on me. There we go. Oh, OK. I know why that happened. OK. And take notes on the side. You could really take him. Or you could take it side by side. So, and that's essentially how he does. Can I draw on top? Yeah. So in V1 it was hard to do it. Are you a V1 user or? Okay. In V1 it was difficult to use, and this is a feature that we added based on a lot of feedback, where I could right-click on any picture. Huh? Why is it not working? Something's going weird. But essentially, you could set it as a background image. Oh, I know why. Because it's inside. There we go. So I could right-click it, and I could set it as a background image. And then I could take out my pen and circle it, or type on top of it, or draw on top of it, and keep that in the notes without interfering with the image, and separate it, some separate layer from the image. How would you want to aggregate it? How so? So the question was, okay, so once all your notes are taken, can you aggregate them? Well, if you put them on different pages, your pages could be in order, and you could rearrange the pages. And then you could, let's say, you could select all the pages and send it off to a Word document. And all the notes would be inserted in line into the Word document. So you could do it like that. Or you could just copy-paste them over if you wanted to. So create, what was I just showing? I was showing the research. I was showing research. Another feature that we added to SP1, which was really a top customer request, was I want to be able to insert meeting notes into OneNote. So let me get out of side notes here and just go to some random. Okay, I'll stay in side notes. So we added this button up here, also on the menu item, which is insert meeting notes, and I'm Canadian. Victoria Day appears on the calendar. So it brings up my Outlook my calendar for today, a snapshot of all my meetings that I have today. Not many because I'm at TechEd. And if I double-click on an item, all the notes come in, and you already have kind of a basis for your meeting notes with attendees, with the subject, with whatever files. If you had a file in the Outlook invite, the file would be brought into OneNote, so you'd have it accessible in your notes. What we find is, sometimes you think, do I really need to have a list of the attendees? But it's really great metadata to add to your notes. Sometimes you're sitting in a meeting and you're not really paying attention. You don't really write down who was there. But as in the example before, if I didn't have Maria's name, I may not have been able to easily find my notes. So if I remembered I was in the meeting with Simon, it's a great way to do it. This is a great transition to a different feature that we added, which is the shared note-taking session. So we got a lot of feedback on collaboration. Collaboration is a very important scenario that we really need to tackle, and we're tackling. In V1, that is before the SP1, the way you would collaborate with notes is you could create a shared section, but we made some improvements to that. Not many users know how to do that. Or you could send email, which is a great way to collaborate. But if you're all in the same location, or if you're all on a network, why not have a way to be able to collaborate on notes together in real time? So we implemented, and this is, I'm just going to get this computer going over here to show you, and I'll pass it to someone in the crowd, so you'll see there are no smoke and mirrors. The computer died on me. So we implemented a feature that we call shared session, which you could start a shared session, and this is a peer-to-peer session. It's a peer-to-peer session, and you can invite as many people as you want to join in the session. So what we've been doing within the group at Microsoft is there are a couple of different scenarios that we've been using this for. One is status meetings. So I would start taking status meeting notes, insert the meeting details into it, and then send out the invites to everyone who is sitting in the shared session. In the meeting, I would send an invite to join the shared session. Now, depending on the person, sometimes people listen to what's going on and are taking notes. Sorry, I'm just logging in so I can get this going. Just excuse me for 1 second. Okay. So some people are paying attention, taking their own notes, but it's really great to have a joint set of consensus-driven notes where everyone could contribute to the notes, or you could kind of sit back and say, my notes will be populated. I don't really need to take anything, and if there's something important, I may listen, or I may surf the web or do other work in the meeting. So here, I'm gonna go ahead and start the session on this machine, and on this machine, you can't see, but you'll be able to see in a second. I'm going to join the session. Now, the way I'm joining the session is I'm typing my machine name since we're on the same network. I could also send an email invite, and there'll be a link. There's a link in the email that clicks and automatically joins you to the session. So here, I've joined the session. So the question is, does the email address for integrate with Outlook? And the answer is yes. So if I click on invite participants, I'll get an Outlook email message. Here I'm getting this is the dial. Dismiss. Here we go. I get an Outlook email message, and then you're just in your Outlook system, so you could write whatever email addresses are in there in your address book, and it will resolve. It's just an Outlook email message.
If you had a meeting set up already, you automatically have those people in the meeting that you invited to the meeting automatically.
No, that's something we're looking into. The question was, can we automatically populate the invite with knowing that there was a meeting at that time? We're on that. It's something we're looking into. Have we? Sorry? We looked into using MSN Messenger. The question was, did we look into Messenger? And it's something we couldn't do in this version, but it's something we're looking into in the future. So here, if someone wants to take this computer, so what's happened is, on his screen, he sees exactly this page. This page was sent over to him. And you could go ahead and type something on the screen. Just put the IP on the screen and type it. And it appears directly on my screen, and it's being sent out to everyone who's in the session. And if you just keep typing, I don't know, type whatever you want. I could say, you're typing stupid stuff, and I could just turn it off and disallow him from making the edits. So another another scenario that this lends itself to is broadcasting your notes out. So let's say you're a professor in a class, or you're giving a talk at your company, wherever you work, or to customers that have OneNote as well. You could broadcast out your notes in a broadcast session without letting anyone else tamper with the pristine copy of notes that you want to deal with. And I could handwrite as well, and the handwriting gets sent over to all the other machines. Whether it's a tablet or no tablet, the handwriting gets sent over to everyone. If it's not on a tablet, the only thing you can't do is recognition, but you still have the handwritten notes that are there. So if we go back to kind of our research scenario, so I could then go ahead and let's say I didn't understand this diagram. I might not understand it, and I needed help essentially from a colleague of mine to understand it. I could go to the colleague's office, talk to them. I could send an email to the colleague. What if the colleague is in another building and I want to work in real time? Email goes back and forth. So what I can do is I could send this start a shared session, call the person on the phone, and say, listen, I really don't understand what's going on with this picture over here. Let me just. And can you help me understand? Here you'll see I'm using pen as a pointer. Kind of what's going on with this machine over here? And we could talk on the phone in real time, and then the other person could draw back and forth, and we could really go back and forth with each other. So we also implemented a use pen as pointer feature. So it's really kind of you don't want to ruin the image that you have, but you need help explaining to someone what's going on. So you could just draw it, and the ink will disappear without ruining it. And you could also use this off tablet if you don't have a pen. You could use your mouse with the inking button to draw on it. Okay, so during the shared session, all the information is being sent out to everyone at the same time. So if you were to walk away and leave right off the bat, or if you lost your network connectivity, everything's in your notebook. So it's your own copy. Since it's peer-to-peer, there isn't one central server where everything's stored. Everyone has their own copy of the page. You have it. Not this feature. We have SharePoint integration features, but this doesn't integrate with SharePoint. You could save your notes onto a SharePoint site, and if you're a part of a shared session, that file will be shared up to the SharePoint site, but there isn't any specific integration. Now, everyone needs to have OneNote installed in order for this to work on the machine. So let's have that computer back for a second. Thanks. Yeah, once the session's ended, you have your own copy, and you can do whatever you want to the notes, and it doesn't affect anything. 100%. You can actually take this. Okay, so to go a little bit more in depth on this, you can, when you join a session, so if I were to start a session, all that I'm sharing out to everyone else is the page that I'm on, or the pages that I've selected. Doesn't matter what section you're in, where you are in your notes. If you join a session, all that you're getting are the pages that are sent out on the session, in the shared session. So it doesn't matter where you are in your notes. So you could set it up that it's automatically filed to the right location off the bat. Okay, another feature that we have in SP1, I'm just going to leave this session, and it can be used also in collaboration with the shared session if you want, is the ability, we had a lot of people ask us after V1, can you insert a document? Can I bring a Word doc into OneNote and annotate on top of it? Or if I'm going to, if everyone here had OneNote and wanted to see my slides, all three of them, if you wanted to see my slides for this presentation, can you go ahead and insert them into OneNote quickly without having to copy paste each slide over? So we implemented a feature which is insert document as picture. Here, I'll take that one. Which essentially you could pick TIFF or PowerPoint, PPT, or a doc, or a whole bunch of different file formats. And essentially, we print it to printer driver, which then goes ahead and inserts it into OneNote. It's still beta. It's taken some time. It's taking a little while, but I think it's worth the wait. And then once it's in OneNote, you could then go ahead and take notes on top of them, whether handwritten notes or typed notes, and you could annotate it, or you could send it off to other people in an email, and all of that is. And when we insert it in, we keep a link in OneNote. You'll see in a second. Wow, this is taking an abnormally long time. You'll see in a second. We insert a link back to the original copy, so you could then go ahead and access that. So here. It only works with the Modi print driver. I have no idea, to tell you the truth. You know what? Speak to me after. I'll get back to you on that. The question was what print driver it works with. So here on effective presentations, I hope I'm doing a good job. It's a slide deck from my boss on how to do that. So what we do is we insert all the slides in order, or we would insert the doc as a picture, and then I could go ahead and circle, so I could go ahead and type. And I could go and insert node flags or do whatever I want, have a shared session. Essentially, everything works on this location. Another piece of feedback that we acted on, password protection. People asked for password protection to be able to encrypt your data, have a more secure story. So we did it. You can take any section. If I wanted to take this side note section, password protect it. I could set my password. I'm not setting a proper password now. And voila, the section's password protected. And then I could go ahead and lock it. And only way I could get back into the section is if there's a password. We use the crypto API, so everything's encrypted, all of the information. This one's sexy, I think. So how many of you have heard of, yeah? Pardon? There's no way to recover the password. Sorry. Yeah. Remember your passwords, folks. Write them in OneNote somewhere in a section that you will never forget that password and remember it. Great question. So the question is, does everything save to the same location? So let me show you what my disk looks like. So right now, I'll show you in OneNote. If I go to Tools Options, I am saving, everything's housed in my notebook. So I'm saving my notebook, if I go to Open and Save, to my documents. And you could specify this to be any place you want. We go by default to my documents. So if I go to my documents, and I open my notebook, you'll see my OneNote structure. So here I have something called demo, work, side notes, demo, work, personal, side notes. Everything is there in my documents. You can, so for the most part, all your notes are in one location. You can, however, open up notes that are on a shared folder, or you can have notes that you share with the SharePoint and open them into your notebook from a different location. For the most part, all of your content's by default in one location, but you could specify paths to other locations. Hold that question. I'm getting to that, yeah. OK, so the question's about sharing notes on a server and, I guess, collaboration in that sense and everyone contributing. I'll show an example of that. OK. Perfect. So what I want to show now, how many of you have heard of the audio notes? OK. And how many have used it? OK. So in V1, we had a feature called audio notes, which allows customers to start taking an audio recording. And as that recording is happening, everything is time-stamped with the audio. So it's not, when audio notes could be a little bit confusing, the term, because people right away think dictaphone, like I'm taking a little quick one-off note. That's not what audio notes were intended for. It's to take your notes the way you normally do, but have a recording going in the background as well. So what we did was we implemented a feature called video notes. And here, in order for you to see it, actually, I have to, this is something with my computer. There we go. So I can't see my screen. And this is great if you're in a lecture or okay. Or if I want to take, if I'm, hello everyone, if I want to show, I'll show everyone this next week, how many people are in the room here. Our usability lab, to tell you a story of how this is being used, our usability team at Microsoft is implementing, I'm just going to type blindly on the screen actually, just to show you something. Our usability team, what they typically do is we have these usability labs at Microsoft where we invite people in to test out some of the prototypes that we develop. And we videotape them, and we take notes on the side. Now, they have a really complex system today of a whole bunch of different video cameras, one primary one, actually, and a custom tool that they use to enter the notes for each timestamp. So that way, when we get the summaries, when the developers go ahead and get the results, we could go ahead and watch the video and then fast forward it to the right location based on the note that was taken. Kind of a pain in the butt. So what video notes is allowing them to do is, let me just switch it back so I can see what's on the screen. What video notes allows them to do is they could take notes in OneNote. There we go. Oh, I have it on both. Cool. They could take notes in OneNote and take your notes the way you normally would. And then, and the audio works exactly the same, by the way. So that's my thing. I'm just showing video because Need SB1 audio works exactly the same way. You can go ahead to any place and click on a location. And it will start playing from that location. What's going on here? Something hokey is going on. Okay, let's try this one more time because I'm not satisfied. Okay, so here's an audio recording. And I'm recording, and I'm either recording my notes and getting the audio, or someone says something cool. Journalists love this because if you're interviewing someone and someone says that killer quote, they could just write killer quote and really engage with the person one-on-one and not have to kind of sit down at their computer or worry about taking notes so thoroughly. And then you could go back.
Because if you're interviewing someone and someone says that killer quote, they could just write
killer quote. That's what I said was important, and it goes back in place.
And really engage with the person one-on-one and not have...
I swear to you, video's working. Do you guys want me to try it again? Oh, it could be there's an... Okay. Come talk to me afterwards, and I'll show you video. Okay. So, audio video notes, sharing, shared folders. Okay, so this is to address your question in terms of sharing. What we've seen, we did some case studies, and one of the legal firms that we talked to, they work on tons of different cases at once, and they have a whole bunch of different attorneys contributing and researchers, not strictly attorneys, contributing to all of these case files at the same time. And it's really, there's a huge overload. And we all have this if we have to work on a collaborative project in terms of everyone getting the information, converting it to the format in which it's agreed that it will be shared out, getting it to the right repository, and allowing other people to access it. So what we implemented was a feature which allows you to go ahead onto your hard drive, essentially, and create a folder, or you could create it in OneNote. And if you share it out to others, the way you would normally share out a folder, so by right-clicking on a folder and saying share with others, and setting the permissions, it allows you to have a group notebook. So we did this, one thing that the OneNote team did was we did this for our scenarios for V2. So get whatever you can off the slide if you want to see what we're thinking about. And okay. So we have a whole bunch of different scenarios that we're thinking of, and every program manager, which is what I am on the team, has 1 or 2 or 3 scenarios assigned to them, and we all go out and write them, but I'd like to see what the overlap is with the other people and see the progress that other people are making. So I could then go ahead and just click on their sections now and go ahead and look at their different notes. If they're writing on it at that time, no problem. I just have read-only access. We built it in that I think the default is 1 minute, or I forget what the default is, but after a certain amount of time, and you could change some tools options, we'll drop the write lock and allow others to edit the file at the same time. And if you want to restrict permissions, you could restrict permissions the way you do in Windows today. So to address your question, this is one solution in terms of how you can deploy, and it appears in my notebook here. So you'll see, like, this is just a shortcut to another location. And right now, I set it because I'm working offline, so I'm using offline files through Windows, and I'm able to have these notes offline, even though they're technically stored. They're stored and will sync up to another location. Any questions on this one? I think they merged the changes. Yeah. Okay, so this is a common scenario, actually. You have your tablet and your desktop, or your laptop and your desktop, and you want to sync the two to be the same notes. You could do this. This is what a lot of people are doing, actually, on our team. Some people we have a thing called IntelliMirror that some people are using. Or you could just use, this is what I would do, to tell you the truth. I would set my notebook to be a shared folder and have both machines pointing to the same location. Doesn't a license cover 3 machines, I think? Or, yeah, so it's whatever. I think a license covers more than 1 machine. It would have to be, they're 2 separate copies, though, of OneNote. You're giving me a strange look. Am I wrong on the 3 machines? Okay, I have no idea, to tell you the truth, but you need separate copies of OneNote on either machine. There's a question over here? Okay. Are there developers in the crowd? Awesome. Okay. In SP1, we have an extensibility model. Albeit small, but we have an extensibility model. Now, the thinking behind that was we didn't want to overload or create an object model that, if we shifted the app in a little direction, since we're kind of in our infancy, would all of a sudden break and we have a huge legacy headache to deal with. And we didn't want to create a whole bunch of methods that are not useful to the scenarios that are real-world scenarios, and we didn't have a lot of time. So we created an object model that allows you to have two methods. And let me just get to this slide over here. So the idea behind the extensibility in the object model was we have a COM class, we have a COM API, which is one class, which has two methods, import and navigate. And it allows people to enable the send to OneNote buttons in any application that you may have. So we have we have a power toy that someone's already developed, which is in Outlook, send. Okay, I'll send this email. It's an email I have. Let's say I want to send to side notes, or I could specify the section, or I could create a new section with the API. This is what I was telling you about, different versions. Sure. I'll just. Pardon? That one, it's actually not released yet. Someone wrote it internally. And this is the first time it's being spoken about publicly, I think. There we go. So if I go to side notes here, I'll redo that because I didn't have it up on both monitors. If I just say send to side note, this is something someone wrote really quickly. If I go to OneNote and side notes, bam, it's in that location. This would be great for enterprise solutions, for CRM solutions. Go ahead and implement this. You have customer databases, people out in the field. You want to be able to quickly get some information about a customer into OneNote, so when you're going and meeting with them, you have some more information at your fingertips. That's one great example. The examples are endless. And the OneNote team, we're actively looking at this. We want to enlist the developer community for their feedback on this and see a whole bunch of different solutions being implemented. So that way we could see in future versions what people are using this for and get an idea of other things that we should extend our object model to include. And if you want, I could show some code right now. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So it's all based on how you implement how you implement your solution. So in this particular example of send to OneNote, you could specify insert into a section and then specify whatever section you want to send it to. And I'm just going to pop up. So it's based on an XML schema. You could write some methods to make it a little cleaner if you didn't want to write XML yourself. But essentially, there's an import method, and then there's a navigate method. And the import method has an ensure page command, which allows you to either create a new page or ensure that a page was there. This is the only code I'm talking about, and it's very short. So, I see some eyes glazing, and I see others wide open. So the ensure page allows you to say, is this page there? You specify a GUID for each page. So you could only insert objects for security reasons onto a page that you've created through this model. And you could only insert into sections that you've created through this. And then you could navigate to the other location. If you want more info on this, there's a great Andrew May, who's our technical writer, keeps a blog on this, and he has kind of a preview to the documentation out there. And if you have any ideas for what you want to do, please speak to me afterwards, and I could give you some pointers in terms of how to do this, how to code it, or what may work best for your system. So there are a couple of ways to do it. So besides email, how do you collaborate with people who don't have OneNote? You can either publish it to location. So we support publishing as MHTML. So you could publish your notes, and you could publish it to a SharePoint site or to wherever you want to do it. And everyone who has IE could essentially open it. Or you can email. Those are the two. Or you could send it to Word, as you said. But I wouldn't recommend that as a great collaboration. There's no OneNote viewer available currently. Pardon? I can't hear you. No, there's no one. There's a journal viewer available for the tablet PC, but there's no OneNote viewer available right now. It's something we've heard, and we're thinking about. The development team is thinking about it. It's on the radar. And I would encourage everyone. Let me get back. I'm looking at the slides, but No one else is. If you're interested, go to this blog. And if you want to let the development team know what you've done or have questions, write in your blog about it, or email me directly or write to our user group. Such as? I think, so the question is, when are the cool new features, that's a compliment, so thanks. When are the cool new features of OneNote going to be translated to the rest of Office? I think as the scenarios prove to be viable scenarios for the other apps, they'll start thinking about this. So some of them are appropriate for other applications, maybe some of the flagging, but some are specific for note-taking. But the other people in Office who come up with the feature ideas, they're using OneNote, so we'll see. Thanks, Ryan. Yes, okay, I didn't show it. I'll talk to it though. We have a Pocket PC import feature in SP1, which allows you to, if you handwrite notes or just take notes however you want on Pocket PC, you can then go ahead when you dock it, we'll bring them in automatically to the section you specify. And handwriting, if you're on a tablet, handwriting will stay as handwriting. We recognize it as handwriting. And if you're not, you'll get the picture. And also, same thing for smartphone. So if you take voice recordings, that'll work too. That is OneNote in a nutshell. If you have any other Q&A, I'll open up the floor, even though we've kind of been doing it the whole time. Some of the other features that we implemented that I really want to stress here are, this is the extensibility stuff. Smart tags is something we're thinking about for the future. We don't have anything right now. Yeah, sure. Where's my clicker? The other thing, I'll get to you in 1 second. The other thing I'm going to say, some of the other features that we've implemented based on customer feedback, naming subpages. So subpages are these small tabs over here. I didn't demo it. If you have questions on it or how to use it, I could talk later. Pardon? Oh, you want me to show it? Sure. So the subpage idea was we have a smaller page tab. Oh, it's not showing. That's what you're saying. OK. OK. I wish these were connected together for like I had a general one. OK. So you could create a subpage, which is a continuation of the page that you were on before. The idea for that was when we initially designed it, and this goes to show you how once it goes on the market, some things change. We designed this to be able to, if you're handwriting on a page and you want to continue your handwriting on the next page, it'll be great to have instead of scrolling the page, because that gets to be annoying when you're using a pen, it'll be great to have a way to kind of create a continuation page that shares the same title area. And if you see up here, if I type a title, it's shared amongst all of these subpages. I'm clicking between them, if you see on this slide. Now, you could also type things in the title area, and that will appear up there. So if you have a follow-up question that's really important that you want across all your pages, or an equation that you need to have appear everywhere, that's something that you could do. So, but what we saw when we shipped is that people were using this and we were using this as a way to create some hierarchy in the page tab area over here on the right-hand side. So you have bigger page tabs and smaller page tabs. What we didn't do, since they were designed to be continuation pages, was be able to title the pages. Now, if I type over here, one of our #1 customer requests, you could title subpages now. The other stuff, send to Word, as I mentioned before. It's a great place to brainstorm your documents or write a draft and send it over to Word. Create an Outlook contact, create an Outlook appointment. I'm sure I'm forgetting a whole bunch of things. For the tablet PC people there, you're going to love this. Gesture recognition. So I could then go out and cross out, which we didn't have, so you didn't do that. And that's essentially it. I think my time's up. So, well, Q&A. Sorry, my time. something we really wanted to do in SP1. It was on, but it hit the cutting floor. I would predict that you'll see that in a future version. Yeah. Yeah. Smart shapes. So the question was drawing circles and squares and stuff and recognition. Here, and then I'll get to you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're 100% right, and something we're thinking about. It's on the radar. Okay, so tighter integration with Outlook. Yeah. That's something. We'd love to hear feedback if you're using OneNote. You could email me. My email alias is markyal@microsoft.com. You could go into our news group. If you just go to actually Microsoft.com/office, you go to the OneNote page, there's a link to the user group, and we monitor that religiously. We also monitor, as I said, the blogs religiously. So, pardon? I'll have a Cabana session tomorrow. I think it's around the same time, 3 or 4. It's in that range. So I'll have that later. But I could talk now if you guys want, because I have nothing to do. Really? So the recognition engine is a recognition engine that's available on the tablet. Okay, we'll talk after. I'll talk. Yeah.
I haven't used OneNote before, so can you just insert links to documents?
Okay. 100%. So this is something I didn't show, but can you insert links to documents or emails? So you could do a couple of things. So let's say I just go to, I don't know, I'll go to my documents. I could drag and drop the document inside, and I could say either insert a link to the original or copy it into my notebook. This is something that we found that people, when they go home or go off their system, if you have a link to the original and that's on some share somewhere, it's not very useful. So we give you the ability to bring it into your notebook so you always have an original file, and then you have a link to it. Also with email files that you open, I didn't mention it before, but by default, we automatically import we bring in the email file into a section, into a folder called Notes Emailed to Me. So then if you remember that you had a file emailed to you, one way you could do it is go back to your email application. Another way, though, is you could search for it in OneNote, and it'll find it in the Notes Emailed to Me section. So where this document is inserted now, I could click on it and it goes to the right, but I don't want to click on that document. It's inserted alongside your notes section. So where am I right now? I am in meetings. Here. No, that's not it. I'm in work. There it is. But you could also insert a link back to the original. You can't do subpages on subpages. They're only subpages. We're thinking of how we can improve this, and we're listening to people saying if they want hierarchy or not in that location, how they do it. So is that something you'd want to do? Okay. You too? Okay. It all depends on your style. Some people want a couple of sections. Some people want to have different sized page tabs. I mean, it all depends. I'm listening to what everyone says and what everyone wants, and we're figuring it out. I'm not familiar with Business Content Manager, to tell you the truth, but there's some case studies available with how corporations are using this online. So, if you have any specific questions for like a scenario, we could talk after.
Is there any way to keep journal on my machine now?
No. Journal, when we first shipped, there were a lot of questions around why do you need OneNote if you have Journal. Journal was designed to really showcase inking. It was really meant to be a beautiful application, and it is, that if I'm handwriting or drawing on Journal, damn, the Tableau PC looks cool. And they succeeded at that. OneNote was designed really for the note-taking scenario. So if you're using notes and you want structure and organization, finding your stuff and follow-ups, it's apples and oranges. No, so the handwriting model, doesn't learn from your handwriting, and you don't need to write using any gestures like you do on a Palm or Pocket PC. What you need, you just write normally. The handwriting recognition is about 90% accurate if you're converting it to text. And what we found is there's actually I can't point you to it, but I remember I read this article on some usability study done on handwriting. That was basically said it's about 90% if you have middle of the bell curve, neat handwriting. But if you don't have that, what it found were people were just, if they were converting a lot, if you nudge yourself to just write a little bit neater, you get there. Does it sync to a Palm? No, someone wrote a tool, a power toy out there that would sync a Palm content into OneNote. But the other way, no. But someone wrote, so it's, do a web search for it. And someone wrote it out there. Sure. Okay, so the question is, if you want to implement the solution for your team, what's required? Like what overhead is required? 100%. So if you can use shared folders with your current network implementation, then you can use this. You could use the shared folder and open up a shared folder and have all the notes shared out to all the users. It'll work. The online shared session. So the shared session, essentially, there are a couple of barriers if it doesn't work. One would be your firewall settings, which is possible. So you'd have to see how the default out of the box session, even on Springboard, which is the next service pack for Windows, which is a lot more secure. It'll work on that. We've been security reviewed. So out of the box, it should work. If you've done something to prevent things specifically from computers from speaking to each other, then it might not work. What's your question? So at this time, offline files does not work on SharePoint, and the lock dropping, I think, doesn't work. I'm not exactly sure. But otherwise, you could share notes out to SharePoint. Here, let me show you. If I go, where is it? So you see we have the research pane. Here, share with others. You can, it's not on this pane. In any case, it works fully on SharePoint. You can save your notes up to a SharePoint session, and we have the pane, the standard Office pane, which shows you everyone who has permissions to the SharePoint site. You could totally do that. Sure. Well, thanks for coming. Build custom solutions.